The following lecture, titled Soul 3, was given by Father Paul of the Holy Order of Mans on June 19, 1969. This class can also be heard on tape number 603C.
Tonight we're going on with a study of the soul, pure personality, and I'm going to give you something on a lesson which has to do with the cycle of life. It is said that there's a natural cycle of man's life between incarnations, which is about 144 years. In other words, let us say that the periodicity of man's incarnation of the soul is 144 years. Every 144 years, the soul of man again incarnates in a physical form and body on the earth or some other place. The ancient mystics had a formula whereby they could determine from the date of one incarnation just when and where the next incarnation of the soul personality would occur, and thus the use of the formula would indicate that there is a very definite date set for each incarnation. This date, even to the exact hour, is determined by the reoccurrence of certain astrological or location and place of certain planetary bodies or cosmic conditions established at the time of the first incarnation of that individual and its reality in an earth plane. Or cosmic condition established. This is one thing you must remember, that it is not just due to the location of certain planetary bodies, but also a cosmic condition. Incarnation of soul, the essence into the physical body to begin a new personality. Wherever that has been, but this exactness of the period of the reoccurrence of the incarnation only emphasizes the fact that there is, therefore, and thereby, a section of each cycle of man's incarnation which is spent on a plane other than that of the physical earth or the physical orb on which he is existing. If the soul personality can only incarnate in a physical body every 144 years, a man's average life is around about 80 now. Where is the soul personality from the other 64 years while awaiting the year and hour of incarnation? If man's life on earth were lived to its fullest, or natural cycle of 144 years, then of course the soul personality, in leaving one physical body, might enter another at once without even an hour's time elapsing between transitions from one body and incarnation into another. It would seem from remarks made by many of the members of our order that we have studied many things of philosophy and reading many occurrences in different lives other than and contained in our teachings, but the students consistently ask about the reincarnation and its cyclic condition. There have been many of the students of other occult schools that there is a belief amongst them that the soul of man does incarnate into another body immediately upon transition from the former physical body. According to this theory, which seems to be quite universal, the soul of man passes out from the so-called dying body and immediately enters the body of some child being born into the world at an hour, or into an embryo of some child being conceived in the womb at the moment. According to this theory, the soul of man is never out of physical embodiment for more than a few minutes, for it is ever seeking a new physical body. The selection selects one at the earliest possible moment after transition. On the other hand, in the direct opposition to this theory, and as an interesting contrast, we have the theory of the so-called spiritualist who averagely says, or at least believes and contends, that the soul of man may be immortal, but that once it leaves the body of man, it remains for years, hundreds and hundreds of years, in cosmic realm, and does not reincarnate again at all. How many times we hear this particular faith say that some medium or another has had a message from the Spirit, meaning soul personality of some famous character or personality who lives on this earth several centuries ago. Most mediums whom offer to assist in receiving messages from the departed souls will tell us that it is their belief that they are often in touch with or in communication with souls whom leave the earth plane many hundreds of years ago, and that the messages are purports to come from the most reliable source through these mediums, say that the so-called spirit world is occupied by the souls of the spirit of all those whom have vacated the human body in the years from the time of the man's creation. In other words, we are to believe that the cosmic is filled with all the souls that have left the earth plane since the beginning of time, and that this process of filling the cosmic with souls will continue. Yet many of the most advanced thinkers in this philosophy of spiritualism and other such communication religions, and many writers upon the subject, express their belief in the principle of reincarnation. One cannot help notice the inconsistency that we have, therefore, two opposite theories regarding the same principles. Now, which is correct? Surely not one of our brothers will ask this question, but it may be asked by those whom are seeking light on this subject. We should have some answer, and that is not too dogmatic. While the question resolves itself into one simple problem: does the soul reincarnate again and again or not? The dogma and the creeds and orthodoxy and the theology do not help us. They confuse us, if anything. These dogmas and creeds, also preaching the immortality of the soul, would have us believe that all human beings, after transition, remain in the cosmic space, just as such spiritualists might, regardless of the name of the church, would have us believe. Yet the Orthodox theologists deny the possibility of intercommunication between the cosmic soul personality and the soul personality here on earth. Likewise, is reincarnation denied, or at least not admitted, by the Orthodox theology. So in making answers to the questions, we can say, conservatively, we believe not only in the immortality of the soul, but in continuous function of the soul, in the work or mission it was intended to fulfill. But this is not satisfactory to us of the higher level. It is not complete enough to satisfy our desires for a more thorough understanding of the soul's function. And so, returning to the periodicity of the soul's incarnation, we find that since man does not, on the average, live on earth plane more than 144 years in its entirety, there is a period between the incarnations when the soul personality is not in the body. Again comes the question: Where is the soul personality in this interval? Our answer is that it remains on the spiritual or cosmic plane, awaiting its hour or reincarnation. And how and why this is our next subject of study. In the first place, the attributes of the soul that consciousness of itself, the personality, must fulfill its cycle of evolution. There is a system and law in the process of evolution, and these systems and laws apparent are very strict, and this attribute of the soul, as they do to the material laws and elements of man. There are a definite number of years and days and hours required for the evolution of material matter of man's body, but the very hour of transition of the body begins its cycle of change. First comes the action of disintegration, when every element of the human body begins to change. The spirit force in matter is still present, but reverses its operation and action and permits the elements to separate. Adhesion and cohesion turn into repulsion, and the molecules reduce to atoms and then to incomplete atoms. Cells of the tissue break down into primary elements, and this process continues until, instead of one complete and perfect mass of matter as the human body was in its perfection, we have many forms and kinds of matter and plant and animal life. Most of the elements of nature are present. The truth, the body returns to dust of the earth from which it comes, and as was just said, a certain number of years, days, and hours are required before the particles of that disintegration of the body are built up again, or evolved elements suitable to enter into the composition of a new body for mankind. After an early stage, the plant life or animal life, there must come the higher form of plant life, and from this will come the food for other animals and for human bodies, and into other human forms. In the process of the construction and development will enter the primary elements of the once disintegrated body. Thus a cycle of perfection is perfected and happens again. You must remember now, we're talking about Mr. and Mrs. Jones. We're not talking about an illumined being. Transition of the human body begins the cyclic change. In truth, the body returns to the dust of the earth from which it comes, and as was just said, a certain number of years, days, and hours are required before the particles of that disintegrated body of man are built up again or evolved, the elements suitable to re-enter into the position of a new body. And so the soul, being freed from the human body at so-called death, has no bearing upon the life and the existence of the soul. It is simply freed from one place or plane of existence to another. This freedom does not end the existence of the essence or attributes of the soul, which makes up its personality, any more than the so-called death ends the essence of the body. It is not true that the so-called death of the body, as half of the dual man, returns to its original source, the earth plane, and becomes part of it again, to exist in part with the elements of that plane. What occurs at transition? The soul returns to the spiritual realm, and the physical body of man returns to dust. The natural law of conservation of energy and its companion law, the conservation of all matter, are responsible for the principles which we see manifest at transition. The physical body with all its material elements returns to the material plane, and although it does not lose its identity in the gross matter of that plane, it functions with it and exists as part of the physical matter of that plane until regeneration comes. And once again, a distinctive entity arises in form of another personal body, so that the soul personality at transition goes on. The soul body returns automatically and naturally to that realm where it can function as a part of the cosmic plane until regeneration. Reincarnation comes again, and the soul with its attributes and personality combined with a regenerated body unites to make a perfect manifestation in man. Thus the soul personality remains on the cosmic plane for a number of years, days, and hours that are necessary to complete its cycle, or full 144 years since the last incarnation, and then again incarnates and enters a newborn body. Therefore, the soul personality exists on the cosmic plane for various periods of years, months, and days, according to the length of time they have spent on the earth plane and their full cycle. By this we see, when transition occurs with a child only 4 years old or of age, its soul personality would spend, in most cases, 140 years in the cosmic plane to complete the 144-year cycle. This also has an exception to it, where the cycle of incarnation must be fulfilled before it will incarnate again. Those to whom transition comes at 30 years of age will be on the cosmic plane 114 years. Thus the soul personality on the cosmic plane remains there for various lengths of time. Some soul personalities that take possession of the newborn human body at birth and remain in it for only a few minutes and are freed again will spend practically the whole time in that age. In some earlier discourses and lessons, we were told how the soul enters the human body. With the first breath of life, the first breath of cosmic air, the newborn child takes, the soul has entered and is locked in. We know from all our studies of God and nature laws that nothing happens by chance. It cannot be said that the soul enters the body by any chance or any mere happening without law of system. It cannot be that the soul leaves the body, or that transition or so-called death occurs by chance. These events and the coming and going of the soul and the birth and disintegration of the physical body occur according to law, according to some definite scheme or plan in which each soul personality in each human body is a definite important part. Therefore we feel certain at this time, and we'll find more reasons so to believe as we go along, that there is a time and a reason for transition at certain times in the individual's life, and that this reason explains why it is. It is necessary that the soul should leave the body of one person at 25 years of age and not leave another body until 60 years of age, and so on. It is this purpose, the laws and principles underlying this process of transition, that we must study. And in the study, we will find the answer of what the soul personality is doing on the cosmic plane in its intervals between the appearances of Earth. Naturally, there are many points for argument in connection with the principles given. Therefore, foremost is this point: is not death, the so-called, or transition, a result of disease and accident, And is it therefore a cosmic law or a condition which man brings on through carelessness, ignorance, or willfulness? How does suicide fit in this idea of transition in due to cosmic question that is puzzling to many? If we have a lifespan of approximately 144 years, part of which is spent in the cosmic plane after a transition, and at the end of this term, 144 years, incarnation in a new physical body, how is the increase in the world population accounted for? Are there new souls? This question resolves down to what constitutes the relationship, if there is one, between apparent new or additional beings on earth and the continuous reincarnations of impersonalities. First, there can never be what you might call a new soul. Over and over again, it is reiterated in different ways that the soul of man is a part of the universal soul. So therefore, it wouldn't be a new soul. The great one, the eternal cosmic soul, the oversoul, the soul of man, are not individualized except in their youth and their development. They are not segmented of a whole, but an extension of the whole passing through, as far, or rather infusing, all men with its essence. So the soul force is inexhaustible as well as indestructible. There can be as many personalities or expressions of it in human form as there are vehicles or human bodies or its occupancy. If there is, as there actually has been, an increase in world population, what occurs? Would there be more bodies than there are souls to incarnate in them? An extension of the great unlimited soul force into the additional bodies would take place, but these would then not be new souls, of course, but new personalities, beginning their first expression. In each person born, the soul is essence is the same, but the personality is in various degrees of development and perfection depending upon the periodicity of the incarnation or whether it has ever incarnated before. In some persons, the personality has existed many times before. In others, we repeat. It is being manifest for the first time. This is where the term new soul and old soul comes from. Consequently, we can see that there can be new personalities, but not new souls. The cosmic, according to its purposes, or rather its inherent laws, selects the human form best suited to the need of a personality or to create a personality for the first time. When there is a retarding of humankind, a decrease in population, there are consequently fewer new personalities established on the earth. Further than this, there are those who have attained that state of perfection where it is no longer necessary for the personality to occupy the human form, need no longer incarnate. If this were not so, then none of us would ever be reaching perfection, and what would we have to hope for or seek to attain? I want to read one other little thing here, and then I'll take questions. Just one other. The study that the conditions usually called personality and often confounded with that which we call individuality. These two words or terms are often used to mean the same condition, but to us, They are much like the terms reality and actuality. There is a definite distinction between them. The English dictionary makes these two words almost synonymous. We read that personality is that which makes for personal existence or identity, or that which constitutes distinction of persons. Individuality, we're told, is the character peculiar to the individual and the sum of the characteristic traits. Let's view this from the definition of the light of what the true mystic knows of personality. Personality cannot pertain solely or even partly to one physical countenance or material appearance. One's personality may reveal itself, even veil itself, in the clothes one wears or in mannerisms of physical expression, likewise in one's home or its furnishings and environments, in books, friends, hobbies, pastimes, and pleasures. Personality may be revealed or veiled. Personality is that subtle quality of the inner man which reveals itself at times in those material elements of our human manifestation on earth which we notice as characteristic traits and group into a mass individuality. Individuality, on the other hand, pertains solely to those material qualities, attributes, or expressions which constitute characteristic traits. Individuality is then the outer manifestations of the personalities manifest, plus education, habits, thoughts, and creeds. It is the cloak we wear to hide the naked body, and just as the cloaks are changed, so the distinctiveness of individuality is changed for times and occasions, and it is sad to say also as fashion changes. To constitute the simile, one might say that the personality is the naked body under the changeable coat of individuality. You get it? No. To constitute a simile, one might say that the personality is the naked body under the changeable cloak of individuality. Now you'll get these definitions and they'll be in our own personal dictionary. All right. The important matter is to consider here is that what constitutes personality of man? It is the personality of man, or the soul personality, as we call it, which is most concerned in all the earthly existence through the reincarnation of man's soul. Now, is there any other questions? Now let's